What's up, guys? I'll be streaming on Twitch for a few hours once this video is live, so come and hang out. In today's video, we're going to be going over the shadow price, breaking down the god rolls on it, then going over why I just am not a fan of ARs in PvE right now, especially the 450 RPMs. We made it to the round 2 of the GFUEL Madness tournament, and this round will last through Thursday, and once again is based off code usage, and will be the final round based off sales. So if you have ever wanted to try GFUEL, or you need to stock up on some of your favorites, now between Thursday is pretty much the best time ever to do it, because we really need all the support we can to make it into the round of 16 and get that one step closer to the Greg Shaker Cup. Anyways, you can click the link in the comments and description, and it'll take you over to the store and automatically apply my discount code. If you're not a huge energy drink person, you can always try out something from their Hydrate line, and that might work a little bit more for you. Anyways, let's go ahead and begin with the video. First, going over the shadow price and the rolls. This is going to be a 450 RPM arc auto rifle. If we look at the perks on the left side, there's a few interesting ones: Overflow, Feeding Frenzy, Surplus. Then you could also throw in Bottomless Grief. And out of all those perks, my favorite is by far Feeding Frenzy. Feeding Frenzy is one of the better reload perks in the game. It did get nerfed where it now has 5 stacks to get the full reload buff, but the stacks last pretty long and it's pretty easy to chain, especially on a primary that you're going to be using all the time. And with ×5, you easily get max reload speed. Then if you throw on something like AR Loader with ×3 and higher, you'll pretty much have that max reload speed at all times. And the other reload perk on this weapon is Surplus, but with this being a 450 RPM auto rifle, the stability is pretty nice as is, so you don't really need the extra stability of Surplus. But the handling from Surplus is pretty good because the handling on this weapon is pretty low without anything helping it. So overall, Surplus is a decent option if you're not someone that uses a lot of their abilities. But as someone like me that does use all of their abilities all the time, I'd rather just stick with the Feeding Frenzy. You can also get Overflow on this weapon, which I'm not a huge fan of Overflow on primaries. I think it works great on specials and heavies, but on a primary weapon where you'll be using it as your main ad clear most of the time, yeah, Overflow will make it so you won't have to reload as often, but you will still be reloading at some point, and just having that quick instant reload of something like Feeding Frenzy will just be better over the long haul. So overall on the left side, Feeding Frenzy is pretty much the only way to go. Then in the right column, there are some good perks. We got Swash, One for All, Dragonfly, and even Disruption Break. So as you guys know, I'm a huge fan of Dragonfly plus Dragonfly spec, but on this AR, it honestly didn't feel that good because most of the time it takes at least 2 headshots to kill most red bars, if not 3. And with it being an AR that you're kind of just spraying, it's hard to guarantee the final blow will be a precision hit, especially since if you hit them in the head on your first bullet, it will flinch them, which then makes their head flinch backwards. It'll make it even harder to hit that last shot as a precision final blow. So proccing Dragonfly on this weapon, especially at like medium to close range, didn't feel that easy or consistent, especially if you're just holding down the fire rate. But as I use this in strike gameplay at the end, I noticed if you were like medium to long range, whenever you would flinch the enemy with your first shot or two, their head would obviously still go backwards, but you're so far away that the adjustment would be a lot easier. So getting the Dragonfly at like long range was way more consistent. So you could definitely make it work. But the thing is, this auto rifle and 450s in general, this feel like they take forever to kill things compared to most things in the game. And that is why I would pretty much say you need a damage perk on this auto rifle. And the two options would be Swashbuckler or One for All. Swashbuckler will be 33% with ×5. So it's going to take longer to get to that ×5. You're going to need 5 kills to do so. But you can also get a melee kill to get the full ×5 right off the bat. So that perk could work if you're using a melee build or you're up close and personal quite often. So for example, in Warlock, you can make that work with Necrotic Grip, and that could be a pretty cool build. But overall, I would say One for All is the better damage perk. It's going to be 35%. So it's going to be a little bit higher of a damage buff, and to get the full stack, you just have to hit 3 enemies, which is going to be a lot easier to do in pretty much any situation. And once you do that, you'll have that 35% for 10 seconds. Once it runs out, you have to hit 3 enemies again. So overall, it's a slightly higher buff and easier to proc pretty much anywhere in the game. And the final perk worth mentioning is Disruption Break. For seasons where there's anti-barrier auto rifle in the artifact, that could be a pretty good role for things like GMs. Whenever you break a shield, you'll get 50% more kinetic damage for a few seconds. So overall on the shadow price, I would say the god roll is pretty much Feeding Frenzy, then One for All, and that is pretty much the only great roll to go for. You could also get Surplus in the left slot, which will help with the handling and make it feel a little bit more snappy. And you can also get Dragonfly or Swashbuckler in the right. Both will be pretty good depending on what you're doing. I say the universal god roll would definitely be Feeding Frenzy and One for All, because this auto rifle desperately needs that 35% buff, which leads me to why I'm not a fan of ARs, especially 450s right now. we look at the damage of the shadow price on the server, it hits for 1401, which, you know, doesn't seem too bad. But we go and swap over to a 750 RPM SMG with no damage perks, no minor spec, no major spec, nothing like that. Same thing as the shadow price. Look at the damage on the server now. It's only hit for 1629. It went up by 200. And it shoots quicker. If we look at the rate of fire of 450, 20 shots took 2.5 seconds. Doing the same with the 750 SMG, 20 shots now take 1.5 seconds. So if we transfer that into DPS numbers, the SMG is doing 85% more DPS. It's doing more damage per bullet and shooting way quicker. Like, how's that balanced? Then we look at a 900 RPM SMG, which is double the rate of fire of the shadow price. The damage barely is lower, but it shoots twice as fast, meaning 97% higher DPS. So ARs are like in no man's land. They do less damage per shot than weapons that have double their rate of fire. Like, what? And the 360 RPMs and the 600 RPMs aren't much better. The 720s are a little bit better, but still not great. The damage per bullet of ARs is just way lower than pretty much every other primary type in Destiny right now in PvE. It just makes no sense. As you see, SMGs are literally doing laps around them, having almost the exact same damage, if not higher damage than them, and shooting way quicker. And the only benefit of ARs is their range, which honestly isn't even a good like balancing thing in PvE, because the range of things like SMGs and sidearms aren't that bad. They still have pretty decent range, and most of the time in PvE you can easily be in the range of SMGs. And if you needed more range, you know, things like pulse rifles or scouts outrange ARs even. So ARs are just like in a no man's land in the middle of the close range and the long range weapons, and they pretty much have no purpose right now. And as you see, just looking at the DPS numbers, they are completely outmatched by SMGs pretty much across the board in PvE. So there is nearly no reason to ever run an AR right now. And I know SMGs have been meta on PC pretty much since Recluse, and I know on console they were kind of bad at times, but I've heard with the recent update to the recoil, a lot of people are having a better time on console with them and use them a lot more often. So let me know how SMGs versus ARs are on console for PvE. But I know on PC it's like not even close. I mean, you pretty much never see people use ARs in PvE. It's pretty much only SMGs or like pulse rifles and scouts for long range. Anyways, that is why I'm not a huge fan of ARs right now in PvE, and why I think the shadow price does have good rolls, but it's pretty much just not worth farming as right now. Maybe if it was a 720 RPM, it'd be a little bit better, but 450s are just not it. Anyways, like usual, let me know what you think about the shadow price and ARs right now. Thanks for watching. Catch you guys next time.